Careblazer, what if there was a way for you to get dementia information, resources, and common questions answered from the country's top dementia experts, from the top institutions and medical clinics? Would you want access to it? What if that access was free? Would you want to know about it? The way dementia caregivers receive help is changing for the better. I am so excited for you to watch this video today. I am sitting down with Dr. Joshua Lang. We have a conversation. We talk about what this new resource is, how it came about, who's involved, what it does, how you can use it, the best way you can use it. I think it's going to change everything for you, and I think it's going to make life a lot easier. It's incredible what this group of people have done. So I'm excited for you to meet Dr. Joshua Lang, and at the end, we'll share how you can access this amazing resource. And for the first time ever in Careblazer history, while I interview somebody, he flips the script and starts interviewing me at the end. So you can stay tuned and listen to that as well. Careblazer, prepare yourself. Things are about to get a lot better. Here we go. Dr. Joshua Lang, I am so excited you are here. I cannot wait for the Careblazers to hear what you have in store for all of us. I really think what you and Roon is doing is going to change dementia caregiving as we know it. It's going to change how dementia caregivers receive help. And I'm just so excited that you're here to share this. So to get started, do you want to just give yourself a quick introduction, and then we'll hop into what this new resource is?
My name's Josh. I'm a cardiologist based in Boston at Brigham and Women's Hospital and founding medical director at Roon. And that's how I spend most of my time.
Okay, so talk to us. What is Roon?
The easiest way to explain Roon is really like how it started. So Roon started based on my own experience. My sister unfortunately had ALS. My father has dementia. And in the wake of like dealing with all these caregiving questions that came up, I had this feeling like, if only we had known, if only we had known this earlier, if only we had known this sooner. I came together with a few other folks who all had the same insight that the tech world out there has done an amazing job of changing our experience of the world in terms of ordering groceries, buying movie tickets, getting a pizza delivered to your couch. And yet somehow in the world in 2023, the options for healthcare information are like WebMD, Mayo Clinic websites, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And there's no vetted place where you can go to navigate your illness. What Roon was really birth of an idea that we can do better. We can do better with healthcare information and navigation with something in the palm of your hand or within a few clicks on your computer in order to get through these really tough illnesses like dementia.
Yeah, I love it. And what you said is so important because I feel like right now in 2023, it's so easy for people to get access to information, but there's no way to know whether that information is truly trustworthy or who it's coming from or if it's been vetted. And I know we'll speak more about it later, but that's my favorite part about Roon is that it really is vetted information. So tell us more about what would somebody expect to find when they use Roon?
When they use Roon, so it's an app and it's a website. When you use it, you go on and you encounter healthcare information. The way we do that is we bring together the world's best experts in any given condition. So we go out, using my network in Boston. We have multiple other doctors part of our network. And we're like, who are the best educators? Who's the doctor who you would want for your own family member if they were diagnosed with this? Who's the best physical therapist, occupational therapist, mental health expert? Who are the patients and caregivers out there who've developed years of wisdom around this, who can help bring you the information that you need? And that information is not just, what is this drug and when should I take it? It's also like, how do I deal with the emotional consequences of this? How do I deal with this difficult moment in caregiving? How do I deal with these financial questions? And so when you come on Roon, our basic unit is question and answer. So this idea that people who are involved in a serious, intense illness don't have time to go out and watch a long lecture necessarily, take notes, go back to them. You have questions that you need like immediate answers to, and you don't have a ton of time. So we break down every condition into a set of questions, literally for each condition, like thousands of them. And then we get our experts to answer those questions in short form video. And we use technology, including AI and an entire team of engineers to make that information accessible and usable. So that's like the basic unit of Roon. It's questions and answers, short form video, using technology to make it easy for you to navigate.
At this stage, do you have any idea about how many dementia related questions are on the app?
Oh, yeah. At launch, there's going to be somewhere around 2,000 questions, close to 3,000 video answers, which sounds overwhelming almost. And to be honest, like that's really just the start, because the key feature in Roon is also like, if by some chance the question that you have is not on there, you can also submit your question as long as it's generalizable and not too specific to you. And we will work to get our panel of experts to answer that question or direct you to the questions that already exist on the platform. And the idea is that the technology and the interface, the search, the way we sort of tailor it to you makes it so that that's not overwhelming, so that, you can really find whatever you need on there.
Yeah. Explain to all of us how there can be about 2,000 questions, but over 3,000 answers.
I can tell you this as a cardiologist, there's almost never one right answer to any given question. Also, how someone responds to me giving them a white male doctor in Boston is very different than how someone from some other part of the country and some other different life experience might receive that information. And so every question has the possibility of having multiple perspectives that you can sort of swipe roll through. So, we get multiple experts to answer the same question, like as simple as what is dementia, or what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So we might get one expert in Boston, one from the South, one person from a certain background, and make sure we can have sort of a diverse collection of responses to cover the range of answers that there might be. And I'll tell you the other thing is, for me, I think it's really important. My goal for users going into this is that they can be the best informed patient, caregiver, family friend as possible. And that means knowing what all the options are there. I see so many people come into our hospital, they have one doctor, and maybe that doctor is great and they give them all the options. They're a great part. But sometimes the healthcare staff might not be that great, and they get sort of railroaded because they don't know that there are different ways of dealing with this issue. Heart failure, atrial fibrillation in my case. Like there are many ways to slice and dice that problem or present solutions. And so we want people who come to this app to really know that diverse array of perspectives. And so on Roon, questions and answers, those questions have like sort of a range of answers that you can flip through and find the people on there who you like and who you want to follow.
Yeah. I also feel like, of course, there are healthcare professionals. Some are better than others. Some have more knowledge than others about dementia. But also, even if you have the best healthcare provider, you can't get all your questions answered in that appointment. There's just not enough time. And then half the time you leave the appointment and you're like, oh, wait, I forgot to ask this. Or you encounter a new symptom and it's like, oh, wait, what do I do now? And so I love this idea about having something literally like in the palm of your hands that you can go and search that question database, or maybe even submit a question if you don't find it. I think that's amazing. And I also think the beauty of having different people answer the same question, not only like you explained about like just answering basic questions like what is dementia, but there's a lot of questions that have to do with just the answer is going to depend on your values and your preferences and what's important to you in terms of like, is it okay to give my loved one a bunch of sweets when they ask? The answer to that, of course, is not just one answer. And it's really going to depend on different people's values, preferences, and different things to look at. So I think that's also another important reason to have multiple people asking the same question so that everybody can take in different viewpoints if they want and see different perspectives that maybe you don't have the opportunity to think about when you're only ever hearing from one person.
Yeah, totally. I mean, everyone's journey through an illness is going to be totally individualized. Just to address, there's several points I want to bring up, like the last thing you brought up, which is it's not just like what is dementia. There are different doctor or healthcare perspectives on that. Like another question we have on the app is like, how did you as a caregiver deal with the emotions when your person was diagnosed? There's like those kinds of like really emotionally resonant, and you might find that person who really makes you feel not alone in this journey and really helps you in those difficult moments. So again, it's not just like healthcare, medical, what is this drug? It's like we have multiple people who are caregivers, people living with early dementia on there and being like, how did you deal with your person like forgetting your name the first time? And like that human response is going to be different. And we really want to have different perspectives on there so that people can find the kind of emotional support that they need. And then to bring up your earlier point, first of all, there are several really fascinating statistics, which is for most things in a doctor's appointment, we have less than 5 minutes, often less than 1 minute for all teaching during a medical visit. So you come to me with a diagnosis of vascular disease, which is highly interrelated with dementia. Like I'm going to have like 5 minutes maybe to teach you about everything. Yes, you're never going to have all your questions answered. And then the even crazier thing, statistic is like people forget 80% of what the doctor told them the minute they walk out of the exam room. So you can be like, oh yeah, he mentioned this one drug, helps with dementia. Like, what is it that it does? Like, why am I taking this again? And they may have mentioned it for like 10 seconds in the exam room. But then you get to watch like a whole 2 minute video, like when you're not all like adrenaline surged, like dealing with all the interpersonal dynamics in the exam room. You're like nervous, like sterile, like white room, tons of new information is being thrown at you. And where can you go after that visit to like help you sort through all the clutter in your brain, all the emotions? Like you're not going to absorb everything there. And if you're going on to Google and typing like, how do I deal with this? Like that often is not making things better. There's a very good chance it's going to make things worse.
Definitely add to confusion. You might be lucky and land on something good, but a lot of times it's going to lead you down a rabbit hole of it's not necessarily the best and highest quality of information you find on any social media app or the internet. It's usually the person who knows how to do SEO better or knows the tech better or knows how to do viral videos or be very catchy. That's like the main reason why I really love Roon. It's like cutting through the noise and going to, okay, wait, who really knows what's going on here? And it's a one-stop shop for at least starting to get that information. And it could even be a prompt for things to bring up in a future doctor's visit of something you heard or learned from the Roon app. So I think it's wonderful. And I'm curious, you've mentioned there are top experts on this app. You've mentioned doctors. You've even mentioned that there are actual caregivers in all stages of the caregiving, giving their experiences on the app. Can you get a little bit more detailed or specific? What are the different disciplines, like the types of doctors? You mentioned occupational therapists, doctors, caregivers. Like who are those doctors and what roles do they play in the dementia caregiving space or the dementia care space?
Great question. I mean, dementia is a really confusing area because it's like, what kind of healthcare professional am I supposed to see here? Most people actually in the United States, it's their primary care doctor who does everything, like everything, emotional support, financial help, diagnosis. As you know, most people with dementia never even get like a subtype diagnosis. Like 80% of people never get like, oh, you actually have this disease. And probably even if they went digging, they might not even ever really be able to find out.
Right. And also like the Alzheimer's Association, they put out a report every year, like the facts and figures report. And in the most recent one, they said, even though most people go to PCPs for like their care, approximately 40% of them report being uncomfortable or not even sure enough to give a diagnosis or to answer basic questions. Like this is a big problem.
It's a big problem. There's even some chance now, I'm intimately aware, like I essentially brought on most of these doctors myself, but there's a chance I'm going to forget a specialty, but I'll go through most. I mean, in terms of MD specialties, doctors, medical sense, so neurologists, 100%. And the subspecialty within neurology that deals with dementia is generally cognitive or behavioral neurologists. That's like the subspecialty. So we have numerous cognitive behavioral neurologists. We have some general neurologists who specialize in brain health as a general sub area within neurology for caregivers who are interested in preserving their own brain health as they come to think about their person's dementia. Neurologists who specialize in vascular disease in the like heart-brain connection. Geriatricians. It's probably, if you talk about dementia specialists in terms of MD physicians, you're talking about either cognitive behavioral neurologists or geriatricians. So we have a number of geriatricians on the platform. We also have primary care physicians, NPs, who are just generally focused on dementia because that's their research area. So primary care physicians, palliative care, and palliative care neurologists who specifically had extra training in palliative care. And I'm probably going to forget another MD subtype. Cardiologist is on there as well, answering some questions about cardiology and its interface with brain health. And then going down like other healthcare professionals, gerontologists, mental health experts, financial legal advisors, elder law attorney, nurses who specialize in mental health, geriatric psychiatrists. Try to find like a geriatric psychiatrist in your area who can speak directly to you and answer questions, and you are very likely going to struggle. So we recruited several geriatric psychiatrists onto the platform. That might be it. I I think, although I'm probably forgetting some.
That's okay. We'll forgive you. I
Yeah.
can't help but think you mentioned it just there with the geriatric psychiatrist, but even as I'm hearing all of the other specialties involved, for a lot of the people, it's hard to find those specialists where they live, or they have to wait very long. Or I could see this type of resource being really great for people living in more rural communities who don't have access to a lot of these specialists. So it's great that, you can just pick up your phone or go to the computer and be able to hear their answers to very common questions. I love that.
Yeah. And I almost forgot speech language pathologists who deal with the swallowing and speech issues related to dementia, and dietitians who help. Like, what do you eat when you get a dementia diagnosis? How do you keep your brain healthy? So those are two really important ones. I shouldn't forget.
Love it. Can you just name drop some of the institutions of the people who are on this app?
Yeah, I mean, we have people across the country. So, in my own area in Boston, all Harvard affiliated hospitals, Beth Israel, MGH, Brigham and Women's Hospital, going down the coast, Yale, University of Pennsylvania, Columbia, Cornell, Duke, Emory University, University of Texas, Austin, University of California, San Francisco, Northwestern University in Chicago. I think that's a fair starter list.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. So break it down in very simple terms. How would a caregiver use Roon? What would they do?
Yeah. So let's say you're at home. Let me give you my own story. My father, who has early stage dementia, this is just one example. I went with him to his own birthday party. It was the end of a kind of a long day. We'd spent the whole day together. I wanted to spend the whole day with him. We went for a long walk. He was doing really well. And then we got to the restaurant where his birthday party was, and he became completely fixated on this thing that happened earlier in the day, someone who he had met who he wanted to go back and talk to. And he just refused to get out of the car. Wouldn't get out of the car, was totally dead set, said, drive me back to this place. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do right now? What am I supposed to do? And I started thinking about some of the people on our platform like you, and who really help coach through difficult behavioral situations. And what do you do? And I remember going back home and being like, he didn't go to his birthday party. We ended up going to get hamburgers instead. But I went home and I was like, what do I do when this happens again? What do I do if my person with dementia refuses to do some basic task? And we have dozens of questions like that on the platform. And I went back and I watched the video and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do next time this happens, because it's definitely not the last time. My dad is a really sweet man, really easy for the most part, actually, most things, but he gets stubborn and he gets fixated on things. And I was like, how do I deal with that? That's one option. Like, oh, I dealt with this crazy thing today. I dealt with like a holiday dinner, and what do I do for holiday dinners to make it easier? Like, we have that question on the app. And then also, like, I think it's a great resource. So that's like one use case. It's like, oh, like something really difficult happened. If that happens again, I want to know how to deal with it. Something comes up. It's like, my person just got a diagnosis of dementia. What should I be cooking for them? What's like the healthiest food? What's the healthiest food for dementia? Type that in the app, or type in food or recipes or something. Another use case is like, I'm either going to a doctor's visit or a healthcare visit, or I'm leaving one. In prep for a healthcare visit, I forgot one really important thing about this, which is it's great if you know the question you want when you're asking some question, but many people dealing with a new serious illness. I mean, this is certainly the case with my dad, with my sister who had ALS. Like, you don't even know the questions to ask. So on the app, there's like an exploration that you can do. It's like all the information is categorized into topics. So you can be like, oh, I want to learn about nutrition. I want to learn about this. Or let's say you're going into your first neurology appointment to talk about the diagnosis. We have an entire section on the diagnosis of dementia and the different kinds of tests with world experts talking at you. So I think you could use it in prep for something big. You could use it as a review for something big. You could use it in anticipation of some kind of event or something you're thinking about, like some family event, nutrition, exercise. You're like, oh, this might be an issue. Or you could use it like with me and my father. My dad wouldn't get out of the car. What do I do next time? So I think there are many use cases, and those are probably just a couple of them.
I love it. Okay, let's talk big picture here. what does the future for Roon look like?
I think, do you remember, have you ever heard your parents or something talk about like what the Merck manual used to be
Mm-mm,
for healthcare?
mm-mm.
So back in the day, like back in like the 50s and 60s, like I think most people in their home like had this reference book called like the Merck manual, which was like anything in like healthcare or human health that you could think of, kind of like an encyclopedia. I think everyone used to have it on their bookshelf and they'd reach to it and be like, I need to deal with this. There is a huge open space right now for like healthcare. Think online, think about where you go online or on an app to navigate your healthcare questions, and a place that you trust. You go whenever you have anything that comes up in your family. That's what I think Roon has the opportunity to be. I can tell you, when patients come to my clinic and see me, it's very rare that they have one medical problem. It's very rare that any one of us has one medical problem or one concern that we're dealing with. And then if you dial it out and say, what problem? So like I have my healthcare problems, but then what about like my nuclear family or circle? And you say, how many healthcare problems are there that I want to be informed about? Whether that's my aunt who has breast cancer, my dad who has dementia, my sister who had ALS, my partner who's dealing with diabetes. And so our healthcare is like our entire life journey of like not just my issues with my health and my concerns about my health, but also our entire network. And so I think Roon, we want to be that place where you say, like, I can get all the things I need to navigate the illnesses that are in my life and the people who are important to me in their lives as well. One of the questions I love, we have people on the app who are just like friends of people who have dementia or ALS. And it's like, how do I be a good friend to someone with ALS? How do I talk to them about difficult situations? It's not something most of us are trained in, but we have people who have like wisdom in that on the app. And so I think that's like the big picture vision, is like, we are that place that you trust, where you go whenever something of human health comes up in your life.
I love that. And it ties into a little bit about even the name Roon and how it came about. I know people are watching this and they're going to wonder, what does Roon mean? What's the story behind that? Can you share the
Yeah.
background of the name?
Yeah. So three things. Our CEO and co-founder, Vikram, we came together through this, like both of us through ALS. So his father had ALS, and that's actually how we were introduced to one another. And so his father's name was Arun, not quite spelled the same. When he came up with the name of the company, it was sort of a nod to him, and also kind of a nod to this idea that every one of us has some illness in our life, which is like a source of like driving us or pushing us forward. And that's true for our entire founding team. Our chief medical officer, he's a neurosurgeon, deals with glioblastoma. Our chief technology officer, who has a family member who has dementia as well. And so we're all kind of wrapped in the same mission, which has to do with our families and our connections to these illnesses. The second is Roon, backwards is Nur, which in Arabic means light in a time of darkness. And then the third thing is really simple. It's a 4-letter word, which we hope is really easy to remember whenever you're in a really stressful moment. So roon.com.
I love it. All right. I have one more question I want to ask, and then I'm going to stop firing you with questions and you can ask them for me. Actually, I just want you to talk about it because you're making such a good point that I try to make all the time. And it's this idea that I think a lot of people think when they see the MD behind somebody's name, or they see certain initials behind somebody's name, they just assume they would have all the knowledge they think that person should have. And I am often sharing that the MD doesn't necessarily mean they know much about dementia. And so you really do want to be careful about where you're getting your information from. And that's why I think this Roon app focused on dementia is great, because the MDs talking on there and the healthcare providers talking on there, they are dementia experts. But rather than me say that, can you just speak, because you're a cardiologist, right? And here you are using the app yourself. Just thoughts.
Yeah. Many thoughts. Medical school is like an old filing cabinet that sits in the back of my brain. There's a part of that filing cabinet, which is, internal medicine cardiology, which is at the front of my brain on a daily basis. But then I can like recognize almost anything else that I've like learned in medical school. I can be like, oh yeah, that's somewhere deep in the filing cabinet. So when I look at the corpus of information and navigation resources on Roon, I would say there's probably only like 15% of it, maybe, that it matches with what's in my filing cabinet, which is what we learn in medical training. What we learn in medical training is like many things, but basic physiology, pathophysiology, like how the body works, what goes wrong with it, the treatments and therapies we have for that, some surgical skills, some basic medical diagnostic skills, and then how to communicate that and enter into like shared decision making with patients. And that's all covers much of what we learn in medical school. But like I can tell you one thing we never talked about in medical school is like what happens if someone with dementia is dealing with like some really difficult behavior, like my father. My father who wouldn't get out of the car. And it was extremely upsetting. It was his birthday dinner. Like, how do you deal with that moment? Like, that's not something we're ever going to learn in a medical lecture.
Yeah.
We're not going to learn about long-term care insurance and like how people apply for it, the pluses and minuses, or like what the details are about selecting a power of attorney. I might know what a power of attorney is, but like not really, not like the nitty-gritty of like what goes into one, or like nutrition guidance, like what's a good recipe for the mind diet. Like I know vaguely what the mind diet is. I might recommend it, based on I know like some basic principles. There's just so much that goes into the experience of and day-to-day life of a diagnosis like dementia. Not to even mention the emotional components of someone who they themselves is dealing with that emotion in the minute to be able to relate to someone else. Like take some other condition, like I can't necessarily relate or give them guidance on that. And so I happen to have some personal experience with dementia in my family, but most conditions I don't. And so I'd say like the filing cabinet of medical school, and let's not even just add a caveat here, just learning something for like an hour lecture in medical school does not make you an expert. But the filing cabinet maybe knows like 15 or 20% of what's on the platform, but there's so much more. So your videos have been like a huge educational, I've watched all your videos, Natalie. It's been a huge learning moment for me.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it makes sense. It's impossible to know everything about everything when you're going through medical training. You're learning the foundation, and people go and they specialize in different areas. And so the Roon app has taken a lot of kind of the search out for people by putting all these experts in one place, which is just fantastic. So I'm going to stop drilling you with questions. Is there anything you want to share or talk about that we haven't touched base on?
Yeah, absolutely. I have like a list of questions here I wanted to ask you. I've been asking, like kind of dying to ask you so I'm kind of curious, like from your perspective, you've asked me a lot about like why I think Roon is important for the caregiving community, but like I'd love to just kind of lay it out there. Like, why do you think it's important? You're much more in touch with the caregiving community and dementia than I am in many ways. And so I would love to know, what you think is different and important about this.
I think the most important thing about what Roon is doing is vetting the people who are on it. So coming from somebody who worked in the hospital background and starting to branch out into the online space, I've learned a lot about the online space and apps and how to use it. And what I see on there a lot of times is scary. And I also see this drive for people who are on there to get as many views or likes or comments. And so to do so, they'll often say things that maybe aren't entirely accurate or aren't correct at all, or they're just doing things to get attention. And then many of them just dropping links that are all affiliate links to get money back on products that aren't really going to improve the quality of life of the person with dementia or the caregiver at all. And so for me, it was more, it's high quality, it's high trust, and it cuts through a lot of the things that maybe are just, like you said, going to add confusion when you do a Google search. Well, go on TikTok right now. You can find a lot of things that are going to add to confusion. And so I just love having one place that if it made it on the app, it's been vetted.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the apps before for cardiology questions, now so much for dementia and so much for ALS. And I remember my experience with my sister was like so much of us together trying to sort through the information that she was gathering online. And she would bring it to me, she would bring it to her doctor, and, it would take up a fair amount of our time just sorting through the misinformation. Because certainly what you're getting from your doctor is not enough.
Right.
What you're getting from your healthcare team is not enough. And so to fill that void, you're going to go to the only option that you have. You're going to go online. And then that's going to overload you with possible misinformation. And so where is there to go, after and if you're not going online, where can you go? I mean, basically right now it's nowhere.
Yeah. And it's easy for people to want simple, easy answers. So it kind of drives people who are wanting big followers to like give easy, simple answers that are incomplete and not correct, and instilling in some ways like a false hope for people. And dementia is one of those conditions. It's so complicated and there's so many things that are not clear, even in the medical field, in terms of the condition and how it shows up and how it looks in everybody. And to say that there's a quick, easy way to do it, it doesn't make sense. Like, you've built up a resource that will lead you to, insights from different people about the same question. But also, once you answer a question, it's going to open up another question. It's going to open up another door you want to go down. And so having one place to go through all of it, that's the thing I love the most. And I'm so grateful. Honestly, you have to thank my assistant for passing you guys on to me when you guys reached out, because I just say no to all of the stuff. And I get emails every day. Like, I checked my email a couple days ago and it's like, here's $500. Will you put this link in your post? No, I won't. I don't do that to the audience that's following here. That's not what this is about. But put that in front of a lot of people and the dollar sign changes, it's very tempting for some people to do things like that. And so I just like that you guys really seemed to actually care about the user experience and actually transforming their lives, not just entertaining them.
Well, I don't know if you actually know this story, but do you know how we found you?
No, I don't know. I'm scared now.
So the way we found you is actually, so one of our CEO's like childhood friends has a family member that went through dementia. And before we met you, we asked him to do like a 40-hour research project where he combed through the entire internet to find the best resources online. And like, who are the best people who are already putting up videos online, who are delivering really great, valuable, evidence-based information. And you were one of the top resources that he found. And so bringing you onto Roon was in very much like, imagine like you have a friend out there who teamed up with a doctor to go out and say like, who are the best people you should trust for dementia resources who can communicate effectively. So being a great expert on Roon is not just like have the knowledge, it's have the knowledge and can communicate it effectively and empathetically. And so finding you was like the end point of a research project, which you spent like weeks doing, and then sorting through. And so then from that research project, then I reached out to you, and we were lucky enough that you responded.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Tell your friend thank you. I'm honored. And I think you said the words that I was having a hard time finding, which is evidence-based.
Yeah.
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 And that's the information on Roon, which I think is incredibly important.
Yeah. And just as an aside to that, like evidence-based, empathetic, and I have many friends or colleagues who I know who've made it up to the very top of academic medicine, but don't necessarily communicate empathetically that information to all of the people who come into their clinic, is the diplomatic way of putting it.
Yeah, I think communicating, I mean, just, you talk with enough doctors and healthcare professionals and researchers, sometimes it's hard to understand what they're saying. I think not only communicating with empathy, but also communicating clearly in words that are easy to understand. Not that somebody can't understand other words, but when your emotions are already so high, how do you just make it as clear and simple as possible for the person to hear? And I think that's something that's hard, just healthcare literacy, that's hard for a lot of healthcare professionals to do.
Yeah. Okay, Natalie, you already kind of answered some of my questions.
Okay.
I was like, why did you decide in the end? Or if you can recall, do you remember our first phone call? Was there
Yes.
like a moment that like you were like, okay, I'm kind of I really want to do this? Like, what was the moment for you?
First of all, you all came prepared, and there was a meeting. It was you and I think Vikram was there. There was somebody else there, and you were very serious. It was very clear cut what your mission was. Like, I believed in your mission. I believed what you guys were trying to do, and I believed the world needed it. And so I think hearing you guys come together, hearing the backstory, getting a sense, like I can kind of feel people, like getting a sense of the intentions behind it. I just felt like this was a no-brainer and something big, and I wanted to support it.
I remember that first meeting too, and we were also really impressed and really excited.
Okay, so are you not going to tell everybody that I showed up totally late in like a winter cap in a cabin with barely any internet? Like, I was so embarrassed about that first meeting. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
I think it was on your stairs.
Yes, I was literally sitting on stairs. I had no furniture to sit on.
Yeah. That was very memorable. I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. I'm kind of curious, like you've answered a lot of questions on the Roon platform, and I never actually had, I know you have formal training with your degree in psychology and you worked at the VA, but like just to give you some examples of some of the questions you've answered on the Roon platform, it was like, can people with dementia have pets? What do I do if someone with dementia wants to play a game but doesn't remember the rules? How do I get the smell of urine out of clothing? What is proprioception? Can someone with dementia sign legal paperwork? You're like expertise that you've built up over the years really spans like multiple disciplines. I mean, there's like proprioception, which is like classic neurology kind of like a question that is in the filing cabinet, of stuff from medical school. But then like, what about pets? And then like from very basic like house stuff is like, okay, how do I get the smell of urine out of clothing? What do I do? How have you built up like such a wide range of like knowledge over the years, and how do you keep that up?
I have to give a nod to my foundational training. I had some of the best mentors and trainers in the field of geriatrics. So I got started working with the VA, which has a high population of older veterans. And I worked in a geriatric clinic. The VA has a handful of clinics around the country called Geriatric Research Education and Clinical Center, like the GREC. And in order to have great dementia care, I believe you have to have a team of interdisciplinary providers all focusing on your care. That's going to be more than just a neurologist. It's going to be more than just a psychiatrist. It's all of these different occupational therapy, speech therapy, social work, neurology, psychology, all these people coming together to form a big picture. And I had the amazing opportunity to work on a team where that's what we did. I would do the geropsych or neuropsych testing, paper and pencil. The MD would do their medical review. The neurologist would do their review. The psychiatrist would do their clinical interview, occupational therapy, physical therapy. We'd all gather around. We were lucky in the VA system. We'd all gather around a table, come together with our results, what we found, what's the big picture, what are our recommendations. And so that's how I started with my training. It was never siloed off into like, this is just my world of psychology. It's like, no, if we're really going to do a justice for this person, we all have to come together and look at the big picture because it all interacts. And so it was very much, that's the training, when they did their seminars and their education, we were all in there as part of the geriatric research and clinical team. So just great mentors, truly. Dr. Rossi, shout out to you if you're listening. Dr. Lauber, shout out to you. That was it. And then when you start to talk to people with dementia and their family members, you hear what they're struggling with. You see what they're going through. And as unique as it is to them, you hear it over and over and over again, year after year after year. You realize it's not unique. So many people are going through this. So you just you talk with them. You find out what helps other people. You find out, what the research is showing. You read books, you do literature. I ended up getting board certified in geropsychology, which wasn't even a thing when I got started. It's like kind of a newer field. What year was that? 2015, I believe I got board certified in geropsychology. And I think it was only even a certification for 1 or 2 years at that point, like a newer field. But in doing so, you have to keep up with the research. You have to keep it up and attest to my understanding now. Every 10 years, I have to go and be evaluated in front of a board and test my knowledge. So I think staying on top of the research, reading what's coming out, staying in touch with the community. And then most importantly, I think my secret weapon right now is literally the thousands of Careblazers I talk to. I have a program. They're sharing their concerns. They're sharing what works. And I hear directly from what people are going through day after day. And so that prompts a lot of what I end up going to look into and figuring out how I can help.
Yeah, mostly kind of 50-50. It's like one, great training. You started out from a great place. The filing cabinet was well filled. And then just like so much lived experience, like doing this every day. So you focus your additional board certification, and then you're working with thousands of people. And honestly, that's the truth of medical training too, is like you learn stuff in the filing cabinet. And then once you're out in the world doing it every day, it changes and solidifies and enhances everything because, those filing cabinets get human faces attached to them of all the people that you've seen and taken care of over the years. I'm thinking about all your experience with your Careblazers. Like, I'm curious, you have much more of this like boots on the ground with these people you work with every day. Like, who do you think Roon will be useful for?
Well, obviously, Roon is going to be useful for any person who has a loved one with dementia in their life and wants to learn how to go through this journey in the best way possible, or somebody who has questions about dementia. For sure, that's going to be who it's helpful for. But I think it's also going to be immensely helpful for hospitals, clinics, doctors, providers who don't have the time to answer all those questions in practice, for them to let the person who is in front of them, let that family member know, I have an incredible resource for you that you can go and you can check out a lot of the answers to these questions. Because like you said, there's just not enough time. So not only to caregivers who are doing doing it on their own, but maybe caregivers who don't even realize, people who aren't on the channel following me and don't know, like that's where their own healthcare providers are going to, I think it's going to be an incredible resource for them and the person that they're seeing.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. And then my real hope eventually as this expands out, it's like you have even like friends who have a diagnosis and you want to learn more about it. I hope for them too. It can be useful.
Let's have you tell us, how can people find Roon if they want to get access to this resource right away? What do they do?
Easiest way is just go into your internet browser, roon.com, ROON.com. That's the easiest way. You can link to the app there. You can also, if you have an iPhone, you can download the app in the App Store. Sometimes it's like the second or third one down. It says like answers from doctors. It's more than doctors, but that was what the Apple Store cut us off at. And then the only thing to know is that it's not available yet on Android. It will be in a couple months. But for now, the internet version is web optimized. So if you have an Android, you can't download the app on your phone yet, but you can use it from your internet browser on your phone and it has all the same capabilities. So if you have an iPhone, download the app for sure. And for anyone, go to roon.com.
Yes, I have the app on my iPhone. So also really important, is there a cost for this?
Oh, by the way, it's free. Yeah.
It's great. I mean, all these specialists in one place, and it's a free resource for anybody who's using it. So I think that's wonderful. It's been such a pleasure working with you and all the other partners at Roon and being a part of it and seeing it take off. And I'm so grateful to see good-hearted, smart, amazing experts like moving forward and getting better information and care to the people who want it most. So I'm excited for you guys.
I'm super grateful to you, Natalie. You've kind of become, I don't know if you noticed, you kind of become my buddy throughout this whole process. Like we've met like once a week for quite a few weeks in a row, and you're fun to work with and really knowledgeable. I learned a lot.
I would say the same for you. You're very easy to work with and talk to when we're talking about, the people who maybe aren't quite as empathic or don't know how to communicate. You're definitely not in that group of doctors. So you're pretty funny too. So I've really enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure. Oh, and can you just say, will the app and the videos be updated? Will there be any changes? If somebody looks at it 1 month, will it change in next month?
Yeah. So once you sign up, it's always being updated. We're adding new questions. We also have this incredibly complicated back-end process of like, what happens when information changes? Like that's going to happen all the time in medicine. So we have a system of tracking that with new updates. We're coming out with new features all the time, including like on the pipeline is like an AI integrated chat based on our experts and the information on the app, along with other features to bring people into your care circle and many other things. So lots of stuff on the horizon. This is really just the beginning of the journey.
Well, awesome. I'm excited to watch it all happen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Natalie.
Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free. And Nico says, thank you very much.